The Office of the Prime Minister Press Office is the primary liaison between the Fourth Estate and the Office of the Prime Minister and Cabinet.
Every day, we are working to build a more inclusive economy and a stronger, safer country.
Hear all of the latest developments as the Davis administration carries out the broad mandate of progress and change. Our live weekly press briefings provide full access to current newsmakers on the most topical issues of the day. We facilitate prompt responses from cabinet ministers on the latest reports and get answers on the issues that matter to you.
Will any penalties be levied against the
OPM Press Now, keeping you in the know. Welcome to the Office of the Prime Minister's weekly press briefing. I took some licks for getting everyone out of bed a little earlier this morning, but nonetheless, thank you all for being here. It's good to see you as usual. This morning, we're going to focus on two aspects of value-added tax in terms of exemptions. One of them already into force, which our guests will explain. The other upcoming that you may be more familiar with, that's the value-added tax exemption on school supplies as a new school year approaches. We will also speak about a VAT exemption on land conveyances. And to discuss that, we're very pleased to welcome again to the Office of the Prime Minister's podium the Acting Controller of Inland Revenue, Ms. Shonda Strawn. She's also joined by members of her team who will aerate this very important issue. We are also happy to see our food vendor for today. Through her company Amplify, Alicia Harris has turned a product that most people consider slightly unpalatable, let me put it that way, into something that is tasty and of course has the added benefit of dealing with a wide range of health issues. She will talk about her business and of course we'll get to sample it and get a little healthier today. But without further ado, please welcome to the podium Ms. Shonda Strawn, the Acting Controller of Inland Revenue.
Good morning, everybody. Always a pleasure to be in the company of my press friends. Some faces are familiar, others are new, but happy to be here this morning and just to share some things. So this morning, we're not bringing bad news. We're giving you a little bit of Christmas in August, so that means we're bringing to you some good news, right? So we're going to get to some things. We're not asking you for money. We're not asking you to run and pay, though we'd love it you. The Department of Inland Revenue, or should I say the government, the Ministry of Finance, go into concessions. I just want to tell you a little bit about our thrust towards improving Department of Inland Revenue. And so we're really moving towards gradually, it is a gradual process, towards improving our customer relationship. And so one of the things that we initiated in July, the 1st of July, was really the launch of what we call the VAT stamp portal. If you've bought property, ever had the privilege or the good fortune of purchasing property or paying off your mortgage and being able to present a satisfaction to be stamped, then you would know the woes of having to stand in line. Back in the day, it used to be at the Public Treasury. Since 2019, the Department of Inland Revenue took on the responsibility of really managing the stamping of legal documents. So if you're dealing with any type of property transfer or any type of business transfer, it may be the sale of a business, or it may be the purchase or the stamping of a conveyance, then you would have had to have come into our department, stand on a queue, present a document to be assessed for taxes, and then wait to have that document stamped. We're pleased to say that the first part of that process, which is you presenting the document to be stamped, is now online. So we have what we're calling a VAT stamp portal. We started out earlier with a first home exemption portal, and now we've expanded that. So if you have a document that needs to be stamped, you send that to us online. And so law firms, banks, and even individuals have the benefit of finding out ahead of time what their tax liability is relative to any kind of document that has to be either VAT stamped or stamped for stamp duty. Those documents can be submitted to us, or they have to now be submitted to us online through our online portal. So that's a good thing because, again, it cuts down on the time that you have to spend interacting with us. It's like the first step in what we're doing to improve that whole process. So we're starting off by you submitting the document online. We tell you what your bill is online, and then you could either pay, you could even pay online now. So that's a benefit, another benefit. Before, you had to come to us to pay. The only thing you still have to come to us for is really to present that document after payment has been made, or if you've come to pay, to have the stamp affixed. So we've not yet tackled the stamp part of the process. We're working on it, and we hope to be able to come back to you real soon to tell you how we're improving on even having that stamp affixed to the document. We hope to surprise you with some new innovative ideas behind stamping really soon. But for now, the good thing is you submit your documents online, we assess them, and then you come to us to have the stamp affixed. So that brings us right into what's happening with stamp duty. Again, there have been, I guess, a lot of requests made to the government around the whole notion of conveyances not being stamped. It's a challenge, or it was a challenge for us, as I'm sure it is for persons who purchased properties back in the day, and for whatever reason, they may not have had the funds, or the document may have been under the responsibility of a law firm or a bank, and for whatever reason, the document was not stamped, meaning the tax for that document was not stamped. Under the current legislation, the tax on a document that was not stamped is assessed according to the current value of that property. And that's a big deal. So for example, if you purchased, let me give an example, you purchase a property, let's say Stapleton Gardens or wherever, you purchased a property maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago. You purchased it at $100,000 and it was vacant land when you purchased it. You had the good fortune of improving that property over time, and now you have a triplex on that, lovely triplex valued at, let's say you spent about $250,000 to build it. So now the value of that property that you purchased back in 1990 for $100,000 is now valued at $350,000. For whatever reason, you didn't pay the stamp tax. It would have been stamp duty back then. You didn't pay the stamp duty on that property. And more importantly, that property was not recorded. So you have not really had the opportunity to safeguard your ownership position, because unless the document is recorded, it could be a little tussle as to who owns it, right? Someone else can lay claim on that property. So really it's the first man in the hole, whoever records the document first. So if you have a property that has not been recorded, you're really not safe. Your ownership on that property is not safe. And so surprisingly to us, there are quite a number of properties out there where the owner would have purchased the properties years ago at much lower values than they are valued now, but those documents were never stamped and recorded. So, very good, the government had the very good fortune given to us of allowing what they're calling a VAT stamp leniency. It's an amnesty, but they're calling it VAT stamp leniency, new word. But it means the same thing. It's really an amnesty. Because what it allows It allows you, the property owner, to have that document stamped, not at today's value, but at the value that you purchased it way yesterday, right? 10, 20, 15 years ago. And that's a big deal. So again, on that example, you purchased that property for $100,000, was never stamped. You built your nice triplex or home on that property, and that property is now valued at $350,000. If you come into us to stamp that without the leniency or without the amnesty, your bill would be $21,000. It would be 6% of the current value, which is $350,000. You would have to pay us 6% of $350,000 or $21,000 versus paying 2.5% on $100,000, the value that you purchased that property back in the day. So you're talking about saving whatever the difference is from $21,000 to $2,500. That's a big deal. And so we want to remind persons, we want to remind property owners, we're really at the halfway mark now because the amnesty or the leniency came into force on the 29th of May. We're now in August, and that amnesty runs until the 30th of November. So if you're a property owner and you have a property that has not been stamped and recorded, we urge you to take advantage of the VAT stamp leniency and try and come into us prior to or on no later than November 30th to take advantage of the amnesty. So that's good news. Even though y'all not smiling, that's really good news. Lastly, the last bit of Christmas cheer I bring to you is really something I think you know, but it's good to remind persons about the VAT back to school holiday. We call it VAT back to school holiday, but really businesses also have the benefit of taking advantage, right? What it is during the periods of August, so it started already, and I think it started August 18th. So August 18th to September 14th, there are certain items that are listed that you pay no VAT on. Primarily, those are back-to-school items, right? Like your books, your pencils, your rulers, those types of things that our children need to go back to school. Of course, clothing like uniform and shoes. Now, you and I can take advantage of shoes even though we're not in school. So there's some things that the average Bahamian can take advantage of, even if you're not a school or a person going back to school. Like we also want to, kind of urge businesses. It's a good time for businesses to purchase office supplies because there are no real limitations on quantity. You could purchase as much as you want. So like I've been telling my account staff, this is a good time to go purchase all those things we normally need and save a couple of dollars because you could use that money for something else. So we want to encourage persons to take advantage. You don't have to travel to the United States, right? You don't have to pay sales tax because you're not paying VAT home. And then the trick is, if you travel away to get those things, you still have to come back. You have to pay to bring them back. So you have to pay the overweight baggage. Then you have to pay customs. So there's no concession for persons who bring things back. The concession is for you to purchase at our local stores, and then you're helping business, you're helping the community by purchasing locally. So we just want to advise of those things, and we invite you to take advantage of them, right? Spread the news, because what we're finding is that a lot of persons don't know. Like, for example, that amnesty that I talked about, the VAT stamp amnesty, I was stunned to know how many persons are not aware that there's a stamping amnesty going on. And so we just wanted to get the word out, not so much to talk about collections at this time, but really to encourage persons to use the concessions that are in play to benefit themselves. And so for right now, that's what I want to share, and I want to hear if you have any questions relative to any of those things.
Is there a timeline on the amnesty, or is it just
there are timelines on both. So the VAT stamp amnesty that allows you to stamp your document at the old or the historical value, that started on May 29th. And that's kind of why we wanted to talk to you today about it, because you know how Bahamians, how we are, we wait for the last minute. So we're not seeing the level of interest the way we know persons need to take advantage of it. So persons haven't really been coming in that great number, but we know that there's a great number of persons that need it. So that amnesty runs from May 29th and it ends on the 30th of November. So you can't come to us on December 1st. No, then it's back to business as usual. So you would have paid, if you come to us on December 1st, you could pay that $21,000 versus paying $2,500 the day before.
Can you say, I know you say like you're surprised, some people don't know about it, but thus far since it came into, been enacted, how many documents or how many people have come in this far to get take advantage of the amnesty?
I don't have those numbers. I can get those back to you. But it hasn't been, when we look at in terms of volume of persons coming in, we think it could have been better. Especially we do have kind of an idea of who we expect will be coming in based on the cries that went before all of this, right? Again, we are encouraging the banks, the law firms that may have documents that they had in their purview that they weren't able to get stamped for whatever reason. We're especially inviting them to take advantage of this last effort to help persons get their documents stamped and recorded.
And does your department have any idea on the numbers of persons or numbers of entities that would qualify for this concession?
Well, when you say qualify, it's anybody who has a document, property, I should say, conveyance, that has not been stamped. So it's not a matter of qualifying. If you have a property conveyance that is, I say old, meaning it is past the time of stamping, that hasn't been stamped, because really you should get your conveyances should be stamped within 6 months of the transaction. And so you still have to pay a late fee, mind you. But again, think about a late stamping fee of 10% on $21,000 versus on $2,500. That's a big difference.
So is there any idea on how many persons would you expect to be coming in for that? Do you have any general ideas?
I don't want to give you a number. We don't have an idea. We have an idea, but we don't have an exact number. It's based on the requests that have been made previously. You get a feel when you get banks or you get law firms or individuals coming, you know. Interesting story, probably about last week, Thursday or so, a lady came over the course of 20 years. She had purchased 5 properties for her children. But guess what? She purchased those properties. They'd never been stamped or recorded because, of course, she had to send the children to college and she wasn't able to, you know, do what she needed to do. And that's the story of a lot of persons. They fight to purchase a property, but then that tax, and if you think about what the tax was back then, there was in most years, you pay 10%. 10% on the value of the property. So back then, it probably was 10% of that $100,000. You're still looking at $10,000, right? So the amnesty has an added benefit because you get two things going for you. You get to take advantage of the old value, which is lower, and you also get a chance to take advantage of the current rate, which is lower. So we have now a threshold of rates that range from 2.5% all the way up to that dreaded 10% that we always used to pay in the past. So you kind of really benefiting, you're really saving if you could take advantage of that amnesty now.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
I just wanted you to expound on the implication of not having that stamp. You mentioned the scenario where, you know, parents may have bought a property.
Oh, yeah.
Every day, properties are handed down, and this requirement wasn't satisfied.
Right.
Explain the implication of that, and then is there any way for you to gauge how many people have not taken that step?
Okay, I'm gonna respond backwards, right? And again, don't record me and don't put me on the air for this. But I want to be honest. We all know that purchasing properties in the Bahamas could be a little dicey thing depending on who you purchase the property from, who you get to represent you in that purchase. I give you a little homework, you go do your homework on that. But what I'm saying is, let's use that same lady that came, right? And she purchased, let's say she purchased a property in one of the more contentious neighborhoods where there's always been land disputes, right? She purchased that property from the seller. She never recorded that property. That seller goes back and sells that property to somebody else who records the property. Then that poor lady really doesn't have any ownership grounds to stand on. So I guess what we are seeing is the more and more we put in place new things to safeguard property ownership. Like now, people are screaming because you now need an assessment number on every conveyance. But really, it's us trying to build a proper land registry and trying to ensure that every property can be identified, right? And it safeguards the property owner. You have to record your property, but unfortunately, you can't record it without paying the tax on that purchase, right? If you don't record your property, then you don't have safety. You're not assured of that ownership. Then you end up having to go to court to fight between who owns it, her who purchased it first, or him who purchased it second but recorded his property, right? So those are some of the challenges that you face if you don't record your property. Now, I don't remember your first part of the question.
Were you able to gauge how many persons did not satisfy the requirements of having their property recorded?
So it's similar to the question that was asked before. We don't know, we don't have a number. I can't give you a number. And that is really because we do not have a land registry, right? Now, I know more will be said about a land registry soon, but the challenge is a lot of properties, we really can't tell you who own them because they haven't been recorded. So if persons record their properties, then we could have a proper database of ownership, and not only ownership, the amount of properties in the Bahamian inventory, right? And so we're moving towards that, but we're not there yet. So we can't, like for example, the Family Islands, man, that's something, right? That is a challenge for us in the department. Sometimes you get conveyances. I was in hysterics the other day. Someone submitted a conveyance for an assessment number, and all the conveyance said, property somewhere on the Queens Highway. Like what? Where? How big? Where? How? Well, but that was what the conveyance said. Like, where's this property? How big is this property? Those are some of the challenges we are facing as we move towards ensuring we have a proper inventory of land in the Bahamas. So I invite you to look into that some more, because that's something that is going to be coming up more and more as we seek to develop a land registry.
Good morning, Ms. Rod. Shifting gears. Now that we're a bit further on in the year, can you share how much revenue was collected for the real property tax and business license fees collections this year?
Okay, so John will send you some numbers, but so far in January, we could say the Department of Inland Revenue surpassed its budget. So our budget for July was 138 million, and we brought in around 154 million. So we're so far, first month out of the gate, above target, which is a good thing. But we will give you some numbers so you can share it with the public.
What about the large taxpayers unit? How have things been progressing with them?
So large taxpayers unit, again, we're continuing to focus on compliance. There's still a challenge with compliance, especially VAT compliance. And so we're doing a whole lot of things, which you will hear about soon, relative to compliance, more audits, right? We're doing more things relative to collection, in terms of power of sale, garnishments, and those types of things. But again, those are not Christmas things to talk about, so I won't go any further. I'm sure Ms. Adley will have us back again to talk about compliance and collection.
Outside of Sandals, are there any other enterprises that owe government a large amount of money in back taxes? And also, is the plan still to pursue getting those funds at in excess of $30 million from Sandals?
Yes.
Okay, I guess the last
Yes to
question.
both?
Yes.
How many? Are there many?
There are a good number, and yes, we intend to pursue it.
Where's the department with, on that matter with, the $30 million with Sandals? Has Sandals started recouping that fund, or is it still in the court? Because I know they rejected that claim that they owed that money.
So I'm sure you follow your news. It's still in the courts. And so again, I'm not at liberty to talk about it. But keep abreast of the Tax Appeals Tribunal and keep abreast of the courts.
Finally, the power of sale, can you say if the department has sold any properties under that power of sale?
Yes, that has been a very challenging initiative for us because, of course, it was new. First time it had ever been done. So far, we've had three publications, 2 that are completed totally, 1 that is still going through the review process, meaning I think we closed the bids on August 12th, so we're now reviewing those bids, and we'll be able to say more about Power of Sale 3 soon. But for Power of Sale 1 and Power of Sale 2, we've sold 3 properties, and we are going to re-advertise probably about 70% of those properties. We also was able to enter agreements, even though at first I think you would recall me saying we're not doing any agreements. But of course, when you start looking at cases and when you start looking at individual circumstances, sometimes we make concessions. So we were pleased to enter payment arrangements with some property owners, and I'm happy to say that they are holding up, keeping their commitments. And those ones that we are re-advertising, we're re-advertising them because we want to ensure that the value that we previously had on those properties is a current value, especially with the Family Island properties. So 3 for now, but we expect that that number will pick up as we refine the process. There were some things, I guess, there were some policies that were implemented as a result of seeing what happened when we published the first Power of Sale list and even Power of Sale 2. And so we made some kind of tweaks. And so, yeah.
There's been some concern regarding companies that have a $5 million turnover engaging auditors to produce like full financial statements. How has that process gone, and can you say how many companies have sought audit extensions beyond the month of August?
The majority. I would say probably about 75% of the businesses required extensions. We have given the extensions because this is the first time we are doing this as well. And then there has been, that we know there has been a challenge with them sourcing auditors to do the work. So we expect they will be the majority of them will be in by October, November. And so we're comfortable with the ones that we have seen so far. We do know from the exercise that it was needed, right? And so the results of the first audits that we got in it confirmed what we suspected. And that is, big businesses really do need to engage somebody to have audits done, not only for us, but for them as well. So it was really a learning experience for the businesses as well as us.
Recently we saw some, issues with the tax collection task force. Are you able to say, what's the stance now in terms of if there are any intentions to maybe change the approach considering how the outcry from the businesses?
Okay, I can probably only say a little about it because it's not a Department of Inland Revenue initiative. It's a Ministry of Finance initiative. So while on occasions we do collaborate with them or we are a part, some of those visits we weren't a part of, so I really can't speak to them. But by and large, I think the complaints or the cries of the business communities were heard. And again, I'm sure you would have heard the Prime Minister himself say that there was going to be some changes to how the task force was going to carry out its actions. It's still very needed, right? The results of the task force have been tremendous, and they have been able to help our sister agencies like National Insurance, right, where your monies are deducted from you by the employer but not paid to National Insurance. And so I think one of the biggest benefits that came out of that really was on the National Insurance side, as well as other agencies that were able to collect outstanding taxes. But I think especially from your National Insurance dollars being turned into National Insurance. That was one of the major benefits. But that's not our initiative, so we could probably bring somebody on to speak on that.
To the power of sale for a minute. Will the persons that are placed on the revised list be allowed to make an agreement with the Department of Inland Revenue when it's republished?
I want to say yes. Again, our goal is not to sell anybody's property, right? We don't like that we have to do it. Our goal is to get the tax dollars in. So those properties that will be re-advertised, it will, to the benefit of the property owner, start that process over again where they will be given the 30 days to come in, right? So while we're going through the advertisement or allowing persons to bid, that property owner has that same time to come in and pay the taxes, right? Or make a very good arrangement, right? Now, I'm not talking about the arrangements we have in place if you walk in off the street and pay your taxes. So again, if you or family members have outstanding taxes, come see us. Don't let us come to you, come to us, right? We are always doing payment arrangements. We're always trying to work with you because we don't want to get to the place of having to go to power of sale.
Just going piggybacking on Kuva's question, and these are other businesses, those taxes, but are some of those other businesses possibly other resorts as well that the inland revenue is going after?
I can't speak about that. I can only speak about the ones that we've audited so far. We may be in the process of auditing resorts, as you say, but though we aren't done, so I can't talk to you about that. But for sure, if we do an audit, there's a process, right? And it doesn't start with us assessing the business. You have to, I invite you too to look into the process, ask that question. What's the process when an audit is done, right? We notify the business, hey, we're gonna come in and have a look at your books. We tell them when we're coming, we tell them what we would like to see. We go into the business and there are conversations between Inland Revenue and the business place. We ask for things. So nothing is ever a surprise, right? We will ask to see certain documents. Now, they don't give us those documents, or if they refuse to assist us, then we have our methods of determining what is paid, what should have been paid, and what needs to be paid, right?
There's a ballpark figure of how much, I guess, money these companies would owe.
You all like figures, boy. You gotta tell us to bring figures when we come. No, because every business, I don't know, it's different, right? Like, for example, the case that you keep trying to talk about, that resort, right? That is different from every other type of resort, right? Or every other type of hotel. Everybody has a different setup. So you can't really just say, well, we think X amount of dollars is owing. No, not until we go in, review the books, review the records, then we're able to make a determination as what we think is outstanding or what we think is owed. And again, we have a conversation with the business owner before we get to the point of assessing a business. for outstanding tax. So we don't start at assessment. Assessment is always almost to the end process of the whole audit. And then they have a means to object. There's a process for that. And we invite them to take advantage of it. If they disagree with us, they have an opportunity before the assessment again, because we issue to them a proposed audit. So we come to them and we say, hey, we think this. Tell us where we're wrong. And if they choose not to tell us, then we finalize the audit. And then again, they have an opportunity to challenge us. And that's where we are at with that particular resort. So we will go through the process and await the outcome.
Are there any further questions?
That's it.
I guess the last question for me, how close do you think the department is to making their revenue goal that they set this year?
Set this year, we're 1 month in, we're in the second month.
For last year.
Well, last year we were a little short, but still we were better than we'd ever been before. So the revenue goals or the forecasts, they are not easy goals, right? And they require us doing different things. And so for us to meet that $1.6 billion goal, it was 1.3 last year, it wasn't even in the billions the year before that, and so the goals keep getting steeper and steeper, which means we have to do a whole lot more. So you'll hear a lot more from us. But again, I want to end on this note that inland revenue, we are not trying to take from the Bahamian people anything that is not owing to the government, right? In those cases where we come to you and you can tell us you don't owe what we're saying, then we welcome that, because we want to make sure that whatever we're asking you to pay is the correct tax amount, first thing. Secondly, we want to work with you. So if you have outstanding taxes, any of the taxes, it could be BL, business license, VAT, real property, and real property tax especially is near and dear to me, because what we have to do to cut down the arrears, it is difficult. So I invite especially real property tax people, all y'all good sons out there, check to see if mommy's property tax is paid, and if it isn't paid, you come in for her, right? Come in and, yes, you come in for mommy, make that payment arrangement. And I'm saying that because guess what? I had a case like that too. Lady came in, her parents tell her, they ain't paying no real property tax no more. They in their 80s, but they look like paying any real property tax. And it wasn't current tax, it really is tax that accumulated over 30 years, right? Way back in the day. So she made an arrangement and we worked with her. So we said to her, meet us halfway, we meet you halfway. We were able to waive quite a bit of surcharges, more than $50,000 in surcharges. And I'm very happy to say, yesterday she came in and she got like maybe $2,000 left to pay. And just chip on it, right? But come to us. You come to us, we're gonna work with you, right? We want you to be compliant. So that's it. That's it for me. But always a pleasure to see you all, and send the questions. Let's see if we can answer them. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Strawn. Always good to see you, and as you said, with some good news, some concessions today, not any new charges. All right, just a couple of announcements. Firstly, the Prime Minister has noted with interest the very vigorous debate that's been raging concerning banking fees and whether or not they are justified. On the one hand, there is the retail banking sector, which is continuing to make a case for preserving free enterprise and ensuring that competition is maintained. On the other hand, of course, there are consumers who are questioning whether these fees are justified. Now, the Prime Minister plans in the coming days or the coming weeks, sometime very soon, to sit down with both sides, sit down with regulators to get a sense of where things stand and to try to come to a happy medium. As you know, the Central Bank of the Bahamas is the main regulator of commercial banks in the Bahamas. Of course, the government has overall oversight. So we want to sit down, come to a consensus in the interest of the public and to ensure that business is maintained. No one wants the banking sector to hurt, so we want to see how we can come to a happy medium and neutralize any conflicts that may have arisen over this issue. Now, this is a continuation of discussions. The government has been meeting regularly with banks, particularly to ensure that, or to try and engage banks more, I should say, in the participation or their participation in the economy of the Bahamas and to meet the needs of consumers. So we're looking forward to this very important discussion and what it will mean for creating a happy medium, a happier environment, more cohesion between all stakeholders. I also want to say to the concerns of the Bahamas Contractors Association, they have, of course, been airing their concerns about the status of their industry, who is allowed to participate in it, under what terms, and of course, what that ultimately means for consumers and the quality of construction in the country. The Prime Minister also plans to meet with them soon. As you know, there is legislation in place to regulate the construction industry. However, we are still awaiting a board to be put together, which will deal with the day-to-day regulation of the industry. And that is something that the government will put some more urgent energy behind so that we can get that going and try and eliminate some of the grievances within the construction industry.
I know you talked about those to sit down with the Prime Minister, but we did see from Mr. Mitchell a heavy, if central bank doesn't come in aggressively, then much they may have to step in. Let's say these conversations happen, but we still see more fees and more consumers upset. When will we see legislative be more aggressive? As you said, that the government has oversight, or you're hoping that it won't get that far?
Well, both, I should say. The discussion is meant to come to a happy medium, to come to a consensus. Why are these fees necessary? Are they actually justified? That is what the conversation will help us to understand. Again, nobody wants the banking sector to be unhappy, but the government is also very concerned about making sure consumers are safeguarded. So those discussions will get to the nitty-gritty. Of course, the industry is something that's always changing. Perhaps that's a discussion that will have to be had and explain what the implications are and, you know, just sort of justify whether these fees should be put in place and what it will mean for the business. So we can come to an understanding of what is needed, what is not, what may be too burdensome, is this taking advantage? All of those angles will be discussed, and we will take it from there.
Any update or any outcome of the investigation in the Freeport Container Port investigations as well?
Well, I spoke with Minister Sears on that just this morning. It is a discussion that's ongoing. I believe that another meeting is set for today, and hopefully I can give you a more concrete update, perhaps by end of day or certainly by tomorrow.
I know the Prime Minister went to London a few weeks ago, and in that trip he met with the law firm dealing with these arbitrations with the Port Authority. Where are we with those legal talks and going after the Port Authority or that law firm dealing with the case?
Well, the very nature of an arbitration, unfortunately, makes it somewhat of a private matter. I can just tell you that it's ongoing, and we will await to hear any public pronouncements on the outcomes at the appropriate time. Are there any further questions? All right.
When are these meetings, or when is the meeting supposed to happen between the government or the Prime Minister and the banks? I'm not sure if you said.
In the coming days, they are planned for the very near future. Yes. All right. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. I'd now like to welcome Mrs. Alicia Harris. She's the proprietor of Amplify. As you can see by her beautiful flyer here, she focuses on the sea moss product that many of you may have heard of. Ms. Harris, can you make your way? And this product she has turned into A tasty treat. I've tried it. A tasty treat with some very significant health benefits, and I'll let her explain.
Good morning, everyone. I'm not a public speaker, I must confess that right away. But thank you for inviting me. I've learned a lot. I'm a paralegal by profession, and so everything that lady spoke about, I was able to identify it based on my current office. And who knows, one day I might go back and become a paralegal again. I hope not, but yeah. Good morning, everyone, again. I am here to speak about CMOS, which is very, very powerful, which is life-saving. The reason why I would say it is life-saving, I basically started the business based on my own health issue. Right before the pandemic in 2020, I got very sick, like very, very, very sick. I went down to like 96 pounds. I was just a big head. And I started doing all of the medicines that once I was diagnosed, doctors started giving me medications. The pharmaceutical medication started to make me even worse. I now had another problem, once based on the pharmaceutical medication. I know that I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that for a long, basically during that time, the pandemic hit. We were only able to go to the doctor, pharmacy based on alphabetical order last name, if you all will remember that. And so it was even worse for me because my name is H. Harris. So I was way down the line. And the lines were long and, it was really, really bad. And so I know that I needed to look for natural stuff that would help. I started researching everything. I mean, if you had told me the grass on the outside of my house would help, I would try that just to get easement and to make sure that the other problem that was now occurring from the pharmaceutical medication wouldn't go any further. So I kept doing research. I kept trying everything I could have possibly tried. When I came to CMOS, I knew exactly where to get it. I grew up basically taking CMOS. My older brothers, when I was a kid, they used to get it. And they used to make the CMOS, and they used it for different, whatever. You know how men go. They always say they're using the CMOS to make babies or whatever else. And so I would get a little of it and drink it too. Back then, there was not much research done on it. And so we didn't know the real benefits of it, like we do today. CMOS is an amazing product. If you would know the history of CMOS back in the early 19th century, during the Irish farming, a lot of CMOS just washed up on the beach, and they got it and started to boil it and make it, and that was able to save lives back in those days. So CMOS has 92 of the minerals that our bodies need to function, and as you know, we don't get to eat proper every day, and so we're not getting all of the nutrition that we need based on just our basic eating, everyday eating. But CMOS has lots and lots and lots of benefits. Some listed on our flyer there, such as high blood pressure, regulates high blood pressure. It regulates the blood, so it's good for people with diabetes. It's good for high blood pressure. It's good for cholesterol, mucus building. It removes mucus from the body. It helps to build your immune system, and it's good for gut issues like acid reflux, GERD, you name it. So it's an amazing product. I think that everybody should be on CMOS. We amplified, put a spin on CMOS. I can say that we were the first in the Bahamas that has give it flavor. We give it flavor because basically I'm one of those people that's scared of medicine. And like I said, that when I got sick, I didn't know how much of just the pure thing that I wanted to take or I could take, and so I started to experiment. And I started to add fruits to it, which gave it a different taste, makes it taste really good. And today we have many products. We even have now CMOS lemonades that we make based on CMOS. I'd like to call my son to help me because like I say, I'm nervous. So Donaldo, would you come up here and help say anything that I'm forgetting? So Donaldo is my helper. It's a family business. It's me and my two sons that basically do all of this. We have a whole lot of customers, and our business is growing daily. You want to say something?
Good morning. How's everyone doing? Amplify. So the name of the company, Amplify, how I came up with it was simple. You know what CMOS does for the body is it helps all manners, in all manners. It's good for your hair, it's good for your nails, the skin, high blood pressure, cholesterol. It's good for mucus buildup in the body. It works for athlete. It repairs muscles after you work out. It's essentially a superfood. So the idea behind it was it amplifies the body. You know, so we have a number of products here. We have our CMOS gels. They come in about 6 flavors now. We have the pure, the mango, the blueberry, mixed berry, strawberry, soursop, and pineapple. We have our newest product. Well, one of my more popular products are CMOS lemonade. So they come in about 4 flavors. We have a strawberry twist, the paradise blast. We have the peach smash. We have something called the summer punch. So those are the products that we carry. We also have CMOS powder. You know, we do that sometimes. And we have a CMOS gummies, which is available like bi-monthly sometimes. So that's just a list of our products. In terms of CMOS, I think how we were able to capture the Bahamian public is, you know, you had to put the cure in the candy, essentially. You know, by itself, people aren't really too happy with CMOS initial scent or taste. So we had to find a digestible way for people to like it. You know, some of our biggest benefits, despite the taste and people liking our taste, we have a few customers who have like real testimonials. I remember before we filmed our first commercial, a lady called mid-commercial and she said that, you know, I answered and someone was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I was like, hello? And she basically was like, you know, she was pre-diabetic. Her pressure was 160 over whatever it's supposed to be. And she just came back from the doctor, I had assumed. And she wanted the next CMOS immediately. And not only did she want one, she wanted some for her doctor. So, you know, we have like tons of stories like that. So I think we take the most pride in as a company that it works. Yeah, we profit from it, but you know, we have real life people that continuously benefit from our products. So, and I think it says true to the name Amplify. Like it really does what it says. So it's not a scam. It's not a gimmick. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's an actual product that, you know, has helped. And then we also take pride too. We were the first to start the flavored CMOS. So, you know, thank you. That's all I got to say. Oh, so we're strictly delivery based. We deliver anywhere in the country, anywhere in the island. Delivery is free. You can reach us at the numbers 433-6702 or 812-9476. We're also on Facebook and we're also on Instagram. So you can reach us in any of those avenues. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Any questions? No? Thank you.
I think this is the mango flavor, right? And you have a sour sop that's seasonal as well.
Yeah, sour
All right. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, that does it for us, everyone. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, please refer them to the Office of the Prime Minister. And thank you again. Have a great day.